China fired rockets into waters of Taiwan, showcasing new assault ships in its most extensive war games to date. The two-day drills, named Justice Mission 2025, were held about 2 weeks after the US announced a record $11.1 billion arms package to Taiwan. The Chinese military said the drills were aimed at deterring outside intervention. The drills this week marked the largest by area and the closest yet to Taiwan. Taiwan's President William Lai said in a post on Facebook that troops are prepared to defend the island, but it is not seeking to escalate the situation. And for more, CNA's Deborah Wong is joining us live from Shenzhen with Victoria Jen standing by in Taipei. Now let's get to Deborah first. Now, Deb, the PLA says its operations around Taiwan today had, I quote, the desired effects. What exactly did the military mean by desired effects, and what was achieved here?
So that comment is specifically referencing a drill where we saw a joint exercise between the PLA, the Navy, the Air Force, as well as the Rocket Force, launching what we see as a long-range joint strike. And videos showed that all these strikes eventually hit the intended target. And so it means that the PLA believes they can execute coordinated multi-domain warfare to quash separatist forces as well as external forces. And with tighter containment and a concentrated blockade that we've seen in this round of expanded military drills, we are noting that it's also targeting critical infrastructure in the north, the south, as well as military bases around these important parts of the island. Now, the Eastern Front has also been targeted because that's where observers say is the main channel that's used by external forces to support the DPP. Now, this exercise, we've also noted, stands out for another reason, and that's really visibility here, because Chinese observers as well as netizens note that the PLA has been releasing a whole series of social media content on their website as well as on Twitter account now known as X. So we've seen videos of patriotic music, with of course all these strikes happening. And aside from that, we've also seen a whole series of posters that they've released. We've seen a shield over an island. We've also seen two hammers hammering the top part of Taiwan as well as the southern end, another showing a dragon horse, which essentially translates to Longma Jingshen in Chinese, which in military warfare referencing really high morale and endurance in a long-drawn multi-domain warfare. So all these social media posts, they've attracted a lot of comments on social media with netizens calling for reunification. They're talking about national pride as well, collectively sending messages of military might to an international audience, and really giving the world a preview of what's to come if the world decides to test China's bottom line. Now, CNA spoke with a retired PLA senior Colonel Zhou Bo. Have a listen to his interview.
I think this came without much prior notice, so that is something interesting for me, because I think there is also another major change. That is, this is a kind of a direct response to America's unprecedented arms sales. Because in the past, when America sells something, normally it would invite a protest. But here it has actually invited a military exercise around Taiwan Island. And I believe this kind of paradigm shift will continue in the future.
Now, Deb, how are these drills likely to impact U.S.-China relations, given that it's taking place after that record U.S. arms sale to the island?
So Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has given the most explicit clue in his speech in China this morning. In fact, he says that there will be consequences. He mentioned that while the China-U.S. relationship has been rocky of late, stability and coordination, mutual respect is something that both countries should work towards too, because it is, after all, a very consequential relationship for the world, and such as in the matter of Taiwan, which China views, of course, as an internal affair. And so Wang Yi says it's only natural for China to firmly oppose as well as take forceful countermeasures in the face of repeated provocations. In fact, the Chinese Foreign Ministry this afternoon took a much more harsher, stronger stance in their reply when they were asked about Mr. Donald Trump's response to the live drills. And Trump, in fact, mentioned before I get to that, the Foreign Ministry says that the drills were a severe punishment and also a necessary move to safeguard national sovereignty. So we do really have to look and see how this will eventually impact U.S.-China trade negotiations, whether China will perhaps scale back some of its export licenses for rare earth or even stop buying U.S. soybeans. Trump's reaction to the exercise has been quite mild, perhaps paving the way for a planned trip to Beijing. Angela.
Thanks for that, Deb. Well, let's bring in Victoria Jen live from Taipei into this conversation. Now, Vic, Taiwan's defense ministry has been holding a media briefing about the drills around the island. What was said in that briefing?
Yes, Taiwan's defense ministry has once again condemned China's drills and stressed that the military remains on high alert. Now, officials say that they have detected 71 PLA aircraft today, and 35 of them crossed the medium line. That's lower than yesterday's level, when Taiwan reported 130 Chinese aircraft operating around the island. Now, the ministry also says it has tracked 27 rockets being fired, which fell in the 24 nautical mile zone. So the ministry will continue to monitor the development closely. But the impact isn't just military. The ministry says 941 international flights have been affected as aircraft reroute or face delays because of exercise zones. Now, President William Lai has also condemned the drills. He says China is undermining regional stability through military intimidation. He calls it an open provocation against regional security and the international order. But he stresses that Taiwan will not escalate conflict or provoke disputes, but it will firmly safeguard national security and the democratic way of life people here are used to.
Now, Vic, meanwhile, you've been talking to people on the ground. How are the people in Taiwan reacting to these drills?
The mood on the ground is calm, but there's also a sense of fatigue. Many people say these drills are disruptive but no longer shocking, that they have become something people have learned to live with. We spoke to people on the street earlier, and this is how they put it.
对岸来讲，他们这个动作是非常频繁啦，对我们来讲已经太习以为常了，
感觉好像蛮平常的这样子。对，不过还是希望那个政府可能还是要注意一下。就是不要再就是一直挑衅这样子。
Those comments really capture the mood here. There's no panic, but there is frustration and a clear hope that tensions don't spiral further. And people want the government to stay vigilant, but at the same time, there's a strong desire for stability. For many people, the drills are now part of daily life, something they've noticed, talk about, and then try to move on.
Vic, thank you so much for that update. There was Victoria Jen speaking to us live from Taipei, along with Deborah Wong in Shenzhen.